Hey, what's up everybody? Ellie Drafter back with a brand new video. Today I want to talk about the importance of paying attention to your credit repair journey. Now, we've been through a discussion in the past couple of videos in reference to the common sense credit repair approach. We talked about some of the moves that you need to make financially in order to benefit the most when it comes to your credit repair journey. We also talked about the future of the credit repair industry. Now today, the concentration is going to be a little bit different. It's going to shift from the aspect of, playing defensive to really playing offensive. And what you need to understand as part of the new rules and some of the regulations that is basically going to pretty much determine how your credit repair journey is going to go going forward, that is. And it's ever so important to pay attention to these details is because as we start moving forward, we really need to be well equipped, specifically given that the journey of credit repair is not easy, right? Because a lot of us have so many different things that we want to achieve with our personal credit, but we're unable to achieve them due to the fact that we're kind of restrained with the specific situations that we kind of fall under. So with that said, I really want us to concentrate on the bigger picture today. And the bigger picture really is the ability to create a level of an attack strategy, essentially, for yourself when it comes to fixing your personal credit that will essentially alleviate you from all the stress that you've been going through, alleviate you from all the unknowns, and put you in a position where you're pretty much comfortable to execute a campaign very successfully. Now, these things don't come easily. You have to practice. You have to be able to be very fluent in reference to how these strategies are executed. You basically have to know your thing, and you have to be on top of your game. So I'm going to give you 5 strategies that'll really help you break down the attack strategy going forward. And some of these guys that, when it comes to this attack strategies, the specific components of them have been essentially shared in the channel in the past. So I'm going to reiterate some of that information. It's not regurgitated same old stuff. It's going to be enhanced, but I want you to pay attention to them because they're ever so important. And I've been getting a lot of questions from people who are trying to schedule calls with me, as well as individuals who have reached out to me on a personal level to ask me questions specific to their credit repair journey, questions specific to their efforts in reference to what are some of the next moves that they need to make in order to successfully execute a credit repair campaign. So I want you to really stick with me on this one because it is definitely going to be extensive, but at the same time, it's important. So first, out of the 5 steps, the first step is your personal identification category, right? You have to, pay very close attention to how information is listed. You have to pay attention to the first and last names, the middle initials, is there anything off? And one golden rule that I always encourage every student who's going through this channel learning and educating themselves about personal credit is to identify where the inconsistencies are. The inconsistencies are basically the target. It's where we really need to pay attention to when it comes to misinformation, when it comes to misappropriation of data. These information that you have, the personal identifiers, are submitted from the creditors to the bureaus, and when they are, there's a lot of mistakes that they're making, and at times the names, the addresses, and phone numbers and everything like that are essentially put in a situation where you're like, hey, what's going on? It doesn't make any sense. Why is this information all over the place? It's supposed to be linear. It's supposed to be proper. So we have so much information that we see there on our credit reports, but we're kind of like not sure of how it was reported, which creditor is affiliated with, how they were gathered in the first place, were they compliant when it came to reporting, and all sorts of other things. So with it, I think it's our responsibility and our duty to be able to, put together an infrastructure where we can challenge those, baseless information that was submitted on our behalves to the credit bureaus themselves and try to challenge those items vis-a-vis methods of requesting, the affiliation of those personal identifiers. And the reason we want to do this beforehand prior to doing the item anchoring is because if you do it like this, you have a leg up, right? So in my old structure, which is still highly effective, we talk about the PI minimizer technique, the item anchoring method, as well as the 15-day power search. If you break that down, if you look at the PI minimizer technique, now before we used to, take the items that once the personal identifiers are off your credit reports, then we go back to those items and then we challenge them. This time around, what you're going to be doing is you're going to take the personal identifiers and you're going to ask the credit reporting agencies which specific accounts are they affiliated with. And you have the right to know that because at the end of the day, you've identified yourself properly. And now it's your turn, the credit bureaus that is, to demonstrate that the information that they're actually reporting is compliant, that it is affiliated with accounts that you actually own and it's not affiliated with some other random information or sets of data that doesn't make any sense. So it is our responsibility to figure that out. So the first steps we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to request the affiliation of those personal identifiers. Once we have that and we covered that, the next steps are essentially try to figure out, okay, well, once we covered the personal identifiers, then it comes to the negative items, right? So now you have a list of personal identifiers that are pretty much highlighting, and it's like a crossword and cross-referencing, items, positive or negative, to those personal sets of details. It does take a little bit of analysis, but you have to be patient on this one because it's important, right? So once you've identified those personal identifiers and where they're affiliated and how they're connected, the next step is to take that information and say, look, these personal details that you've communicated with me in reference to how they're connected, you've given me a list of that, but here's the thing. It's not, this personal identifier is not appropriate. It's not supposed to be there. It's not mine. It's not supposed to be reported this way. So because you have the cross-reference of the credit bureau submitting to you the specifics of the personal identifiers and how they're related to each specific account, you now have more tools in your arsenal essentially to kind of combat the negativity around your credit reports. Now, this is the first step I recommend. Why? It's because in the past year we did personal identifiers. Some of the personal identifiers came off. Then we went on to doing the item anchoring. But if you follow this method, right, you're pretty much equipping yourself with a little bit more tools. And you have this level of information that you can finally use and get rid of those personal identifiers as your next step. But as you do so and you're coming across the negative items, now you have more tools in your arsenal to be able to challenge those negative items. And it's actually going to be a lot more effective this way. So follow that process on the first level. So that's point number one. And the rest of the points are going to be very short and quick. Point number two is, okay, well, now the personal identifiers, you have a list of them and how they're affiliated with all the negative accounts. The next obvious step is to challenge the negative accounts. But before you challenge the negative accounts, it's to remove those personal identifiers that are not congruent to your personal data right now. Once you do that, the third step is to get to the negative items. The negative items are essentially looking at, hey, look, you have a confirmation of the bureau's reporting all these names. They've been removed, all these addresses removed, and all the extra personal identifiers removed. Now you're saying, okay, well, now that you remove them and you had affiliated accounts with them in the past, based on what you've given me in terms of the affiliation of each personal identifier to those accounts, here's a list of personal identifiers that you've removed, yet the information that you said that were belonging to those identifiers are still there. Kindly remove those as well. So that's the third step. Now, the fourth step is, you have to wait until they give you a complete submission of all that negativity and remove it from your bureaus. If they don't, the fourth step is to come back and communicate with them and say, look, I still see this information. Again, reiterating, here's the evidence of you removing those personal identifiers that were affiliated with all these negative accounts. And they're still yet there. You have removed some, and I thank you for that, but there are still incongruent data. Kindly work with me there. So let's assume that, you get a couple more down and it's kind of taken care of. The fifth and final step really is you have to go and approach agencies that are outside the purview of the FCRA. Now, we talked about the common sense credit repair approach. In my previous video, I talked about, the future of the credit repair industry and why it's important to kind of think alternative approaches. Obviously, I'm teaching you here things that are, on a common sense approach as well. Personal identifiers, items affiliated with them, cross-referencing that if they remove the personal IDs, why is the item still there, et cetera, et cetera. The fifth and final point is to work with agencies that have the strength and I guess the wherewithal as well as the ability to enforce specific laws based on a business level. So you're going to contact your state attorney general's office. You're going to file a complaint. You're going to file a complaint for failure to conduct appropriate request of a customer. So basically that is, hey, I requested them to correct this information. It's not a Fair Credit Reporting Act. They acknowledge that the information is not mine. Here's proof that they removed it. Have the evidence at hand. Write up an affidavit, which you need. It's a truth and fact. And you state that, hey, look, these items, and the truth is that whether it's you or not, you're going to go based on the actions of the bureaus. So the truth is the bureaus have removed those identifiers in the past. They were affiliated with such accounts. They failed to remove those accounts. And I'm contacting you, State Attorney General's office, to please enforce this because it's causing me damage. And under your state, I have the right to protect myself, especially as a consumer. Can you please look into this? So what's happening now is your State Attorney General's office is going to go there. And then basically they're going to try to pressure the credit reporting agencies and the companies that are reporting specifically with the identifiers that no longer remain in your accounts, yet the items that were affiliated with them are still there. And they're going to challenge those accounts off, right? But you have to continue that round. So that's the 5-step round sequence. And once again, gather all the personal identifiers, ask the bureaus which accounts they're affiliated with. Second step, challenge the personal identifiers. Once removed, third step is if the accounts that were affiliated. Once you challenge those personal identifiers, were the accounts taken care of? Were they fallen off? If not, then you're going to request that they remove those as well. Fourth step is basically rinse and repeat. and chances are the items will still remain there. If there are certain items that are still there, to request that they remove those items as well. And by the final step is if they fail to complete the obligation on their side of the investigation and take care of your business request, then you can contact your state attorney general's office and then basically state to them that here's an affidavit of truth and facts stating everything that I've done so far in reference to getting those personal identifiers removed that were inaccurate. The accounts that were affiliated with them are still there. I've requested multiple times for them to do so, yet they failed to correspond. They're violating business practices. In addition to that, they're harming me as a consumer in your state and the purview of your state. I'm not asking for a Fair Credit Reporting Act. I'm not challenging based on that. I'm challenging it for misleading data that is injurious to my character. So would you kindly assist me with this process so that we can get this resolved? So when you approach it this angle, you have a little bit more of a strength, and you have the playing field is evened out and the ball is in your court. So literally you have control over the circumstances and the situations you can create, rather than, like the whole approach of the credit repair industry and how it's going and how it's being disregarded and all that kind of stuff. So I hope this short and quick video, I'm probably not sure, well over 11 minutes here, but I hope this quick video give you some insights on what to do and that you follow these 5 steps to the bone, because they are going to get you results. You just have to be patient. It's going to take some time, right? If you want to build credit, it's going to take some time. You got to have the structure to do it the proper way. At least try this angle on your own. Like I said, it's going to be a self-serve process going in the future with credit repair, where you have to learn, you have to educate yourself as a customer. You need to know your rights. And once you know them and you know how to exercise that and you understand yourself as a consumer and the right of protection you have outside of the purview of the Fair Credit Reporting Act, you have a lot more tools that you can use to your advantage. So go ahead and do that. I hope this video was helpful. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below. And of the 5 steps, which one are you going to implement first? And I want to know exactly why you want to do that. And if you haven't subscribed yet, we'll consider subscribing and turning the notifications on to all. So every time there's videos like these, you'll be the first to know. With that said, this is your guide and mentor, Ali Tarafter. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye for now.